Sanbonani, sanbonani nonke nisaphila nje. Sanbonani nonke. I was watching a video on YouTube, Vulumlomo, a conversation about culture, episode 2, the conversation being about finance in particular. The video is sponsored by, and the platform has been created by Viceroy. The video was sent to me by a good friend of mine, Gus Pongweni, who I studied with at university at Rhodes in Grahamstown in Makhanda, and who I sang with in the Rhodes Chamber Choir. I got touched. I haven't finished watching the video. It's about 31 minutes long. I got touched while listening at the beginning, and that's why I decided to come and make this video quickly, because before I forget my points. The first question Robert Marawa asks is, what is black tax? Where does it come from? And a gentleman I'm a huge fan of, and that I respect very highly, and who is extremely talented musically, beautiful singer, and who is a great, I guess you could call him a historian now, and an African, more specifically a Zulu critical thinker. He was asked, what is black tax? And he answered, and then another lady, I think might be Wagab Teles, I was really not happy with their answers, and I decided to come and make this video to talk about my opinions, because I've written a piece about this before, about what is black tax. So if we break it down very quickly, just the words black tax, understand that the black speaks for black African. That means that this applies to people that are black African, and it is not applicable to white people. It is not applicable to Amandia, Amachina, and other people that are not black. The second important word is tax. Tax is a legislated or a forced payment towards some type of government or space. That is a tax. Black tax is a tax paid by black people. So where does this word come from? Where does this term come from? This term comes from a space or a time where a lot of black children that had gone to the cities, the Johannesburgs, the Durbans, the Cape Towns, the Bloemfonteins, the East Londons, for example, that had gone there to go and work. Now at home, they are expected to send money. And through their frustration, they started feeling like, hey, tax so much. Black tax, and they grudgingly, unhappily, sadly sending this money back home. But we need to unpack black tax a bit deeper in terms of where it comes from, or its origins and its substance. Obviously, because of our history, colonization first with the British, and then apartheid under the Afrikaners, black people were relegated towards being at the bottom of the food chain. Even if you look geographically, the coloreds lived closer to white suburbs, the Indians lived closer to white suburbs, and the Indians got even to trade in white areas. And then the black people would be put in townships far away, unseen from the white spaces. Because of that, we couldn't engage economically in this country. We lost out a lot. We fought ANC, PAC, IFP, Azapo, all these guys fought in the struggle so that we could get what we call political freedom today, 1990 to 94, when Nelson Mandela became president. With that, white people in particular had built generational wealth and generational privilege. What does that mean? It means that a white child leaving their suburban home to go and study at a university and work, probably within the same neighborhood, doesn't need to send more money home because their parents are already privileged and fine. Their mother was not a domestic worker. Their father was not a gardener, garden boy. So they weren't working off a back foot. We are and we were as black people. So what happened is, obviously your mother, who's a domestic worker, your father, who's a garden boy, would take these little resources that they have, plow them into your education, send you out into the world. And then once you start earning, once you start earning a decent income, they expect you to then start sending money home, because they're like, look, I gave you all I have. I invested the little bit I had in you. It's time to now yield the dividends. That's the history of Abantu Abamnyama in this country. One of the other points I wanted to raise was the reason we're calling it a tax and not black thanks is a term that the lady used, or a black donation, or a parental give back, or a reinvestment in the home, or even calling it dividends to our parents, is precisely because our parents never from a young age groomed us to understand that I'm investing in you as my tree, as my asset, so that one day you can yield fruit. It almost becomes a surprise when you start earning money that all these demands are made. And you get very upset, but it's because you weren't trained. In the same way, a lot of men today are kicking and screaming about paying ilobolo, paying inhlawulo. It's because from birth, young black boys are not being taught these things. Why are they paid? For what reason? Who pays them? How much? In the same breath, young girls are not being taught from a young age, black girls. This is what sex means. You're not meant to have sex until this period because this is what happens. If this happens, you have failed the family and the boy and his family will have to pay a penalty for these reasons, and this is how it works. All of a sudden, later on, me and the lady are now fighting because her family wants inhlawulo of a certain amount, or when I'm going to lobola her, which I shouldn't be doing. It should actually be coming from my father and my family. We're now fighting, and it's affecting our finances because we weren't raised to have these conversations. Part of it being the fact that economically we're not literate and we didn't understand this game. We're trying to get into it now, but it's so distorted and broken that we're almost making it worse and not making it better. We need to raise our kids to understand, and this is fundamentally important. The Indians are very good at this. Raise your kids to understand that you are not an island. You may go to these white schools, you may study capitalism where it's all about being the best and the first and the greatest and the richest. But in African culture, as people that practice Ubuntu, we are about family. Any success you have is ours. That's why I, as your parent, any little bit I had was yours. It wasn't mine. You weren't sitting in a corner eating spinach while I'm eating KFC. We're sharing this together. What is mine is yours, and what's yours is meant to be mine. We are united. Same thing should apply even in marriage. You're not, oh, I found this great girl that I love so much. No, I have found a great woman who will be of great service to my family. And she comes from a family where I would like our families to merge and build something strong. But we're not taught these things from a young age. We should have at least weekend classes, if not holiday schools, where black African kids are being taught their culture, taught their beliefs, taught why we do certain things. And we've lost it. So what's actually meant to happen with black tax? Well, let me take it a step back. When we speak again about tax, and I said it's a forced payment, we pay tax to our government via SARS, South African Revenue Services. What is the tax meant for? The tax is meant for infrastructure development. The roads, the bridges, the hospitals, the clinics, the schools. It's meant for nation building. We pay tax so that this country works and so that we can be productive and we can thrive. We don't pay tax so that politicians can give their mates tenders and give us bad service. We don't pay tax so that politicians can steal that money and be corrupt. It's a misuse of what tax is meant for. Tax is meant to be used for the betterment of the country. Some of the tax money goes to paying school teachers, the police to keep us safe, the nurses and the doctors to heal us when we're sick. This is money that we're meant to pay willingly. Willingly. Unfortunately, our government has proven to be corrupt. It's not unique. There are corrupt governments throughout the world. The apartheid government itself was corrupt as well. But that's what tax is meant to be for. So in the same breath, when you're sending black tax home as a black child who is now shining in the city, it is meant to go and build the home. It is meant to help with things like teaching, educating your younger siblings, your nieces and nephews. It's meant to help with what we call infrastructure development. Is your home falling apart so they can fix the roof, fix some of the building, the walls, etc. But we've lost that. What's happening is people are sending money so that mom can go buy hot wings, dad can go and buy a bottle of scotch, and the kids can go and buy sweets. It's not development. It's almost like money for grants. You're sending a grant home so that every single month they will constantly be sucking from you and depending on you and not building themselves. If we had been using this black tax intelligently, and if we sat as families, the money that is meant to be going home is meant to say, le mali njoba nginikeza yokuthi niqale isiphaza nizokwazi ukuyiphilisa nakumnotho. This money I'm sending home is so that you can build back rooms that you can rent out, so that the family can make money. We're not having these conversations because we're financially illiterate and we've lost it and our families are broken. A lot of the parents are exploiting their kids, not understanding that the cost of living in the city, it strangles you. The cost of transport, never mind the car that comes with insurance and high petrol and toll gates and traffic fines and a license disc and. Transport, having to catch a number of taxis, having to catch the Gautrain, the bus. The cost of rent is very high in the cities. The cost of food. Then if you have children in the city, the cost of their education is much higher. By the time your parents are asking for money, you don't have it. Some of you end up having to go and take out loans just so you can send money home because they're like, ooh, nganyami, sebenze goli. But it's destructive and now you're working backwards again. So we need to stop a culture of not understanding what are we doing. This black tax is not meant to be paid the way it's being paid. It's meant to be a reinvestment in the home. That's fundamentally important. Another point I wanted to make was hey, we're not going to data much. Black tax reinvesting in the... Okay, here we go. Another point I wanted to make was we shouldn't only be sending money home. I think that's part of where we've lost it. Oh, the first part I wanted to say was one of the sad reasons when I spoke about loans, that some of us are ending up taking out loans just to send money home. The sad part about that is that it's one of the reasons a lot of people are no longer going in Makaya during holidays, especially in December. A lot of people are opting to stay in the city because they know as soon as they get home, everyone is expecting a handout. Your parents, your younger siblings, your aunts and uncles, they expect you to be shitting money when they don't know how much you're struggling. The second part I wanted to say was we shouldn't only isolate a black tax or a black reinvestment to money. What knowledge are you sending home? Your parents sent you out. When I look at the nation of China, China has sent a lot of people to America, to Europe, to not only go and make money and bring it back into China, but also to go and acquire skills and knowledge and bring that back into China. When your parents are sending you out, your mom who's a domestic worker, and you're brilliant, you've done well, you're now a medical doctor. Have you at any point sat with your mom, your domestic worker mom, and explained to her what medicine is about? Made her understand the various organs, various medications, side effects, such that your mom can confidently be like, you know, I'm a domestic worker, but because my son is a doctor, he schools me every time he's at home. He schools me every time we chat on WhatsApp or somewhere else. I'm actually an honorary doctor because of my son. He has given me this knowledge. And not just knowledge about the work you do, but knowledge about how can you improve yourself. How can your dad, who's sitting at home doing nothing, learn how to fix a car and become a mechanic? Learn how to open a little business and begin trading. What skills are we sending home? What opportunities are we sending home? You live in Joburg. Joburg has got China City. Is there a chance that you can bring your mother, your aunts, up to China City to go and see all these things that are there and say, Mama, auntie, mamkhulu, mamncane, buganda uthi yini engathandwa le emakhaya eningayidayisa. And then I will start you off and I will buy you the initial stock. And then you'll go down, you'll sell it. As you make money, send the money to me, Egoli. I will go and stock for you and I will send the stuff down so you can carry on with this enterprise. That way we're sending skills, knowledge, opportunities home. And sooner rather than later, when your younger siblings who are growing and who are getting wiser are there and are ripe, you can then bring them up to the city and say, come and help me with this load. Let's come and work together so that we can build home. Fundamentally, what was meant to happen is that we weren't meant to actually be in the city forever. We were meant to move from the villages to the city to go and fetch resources and skills and knowledge and connections, and then go back home and build our home into what we'd seen. But we completely detach and we never go back because home has become this toxic place. Your parents always want money, they shout at you, people are always whining, and you're like, you know what? It's fine, I'm writing off my family, this is too much for me. and we've lost it. Another very important point I wanted to make on tax in particular is the fact that black people should not be paying an extra tax if our government was doing their work efficiently. What does that mean? It means that if no fee schools were at an adequate, decent level, you wouldn't need to send money home for your siblings, your nieces and nephews to go and study somewhere else. If the clinics and the public hospitals were at a decent standard that is dignified, you wouldn't need to be putting your parents on medical aid. If RDPs were at a certain good standard, if some of the training workshops that are available from the Department of Agriculture and Social Services and the like, if they were helping older people to acquire skills, grow their own food, you wouldn't need to constantly send stuff home. You'd go home just to add extra value. See your mom working and growing her cabbages and her spinach and say, look, this is what I learned in the city. Maybe I can help you monetize what you're doing. See your dad fixing cars and say, look, there's a machine I saw somewhere. I can bring you this machine and maybe you can actually even start repairing tires or whatever the case may be. But because our government is not fundamentally doing and maximizing the current tax, we are now forced to add an additional tax, and it's strangling us and it's holding us back. In the same way, a young black couple is being strangled by ilobolo, which is normally funded by loans, compared to the next white, Indian, whatever couple. So when you look at the economic race, the young black couple is starting on a negative. The white couple is not only starting on a zero, their parents might have given them something. And that's what we're meant to be working towards, at least if we're speaking about the money game and this Western economy that we're living in. We need to have these conversations. They are fundamentally important because they are oppressing us as a people. They are causing more tension, more destruction in our families. And it's because we just don't know the principles of these things. And we're not sitting enough just to have conversations. Just to have conversations. I've said this before because a lot of people maybe don't articulate like me. A lot of people maybe don't understand things like me. A lot of people maybe even are scared. There are some of you who are in your 30s, who are in your 40s, who are petrified of your parents. And when they ask you for money, you get anxiety. I don't have that. Call me. Come, let me sit with your family. Let me explain to them how you are under pressure in the city. Let me explain to you why your parents need you to help them, and not just in money, but in knowledge and opportunities. Let us sit down and draft a family economic plan. What is your family 20, 50-year economic plan? What is your education plan? What should your siblings be studying, your younger siblings? So you're a doctor in Joburg. Should the next one be a doctor? Should they be studying business? Should they be studying law? What can help the family? Should they be studying construction? Who's your family security officer? I said this earlier. Who's the chief justice in your family who makes sure that they understand the family law and the family history? And they have this wealth of knowledge saying, this is how our family works. I'm the custodian of this family and the family plan. And when we have meetings, I become the chairman of this family so that we move forward. And then the young people come with their advice, when they come with their resources, we have a plan and we're moving forward. Does your family have a stockpile? What is that stockpile for? Is it just for December groceries and imshatu and imwabu? Or is it so that your family can build enterprise and not only supply the neighbors, but at some point get to a point where they can export as a family? One of the tweets I said today is that South Africa is too big. A lot of people are very angry. I was chilling with Unhlanhla Lux yesterday with Operation Dudula. He's fighting along with the guys at Operation Dudula, as well as Herman Mashaba did at some point, as well as Gayton McKenzie had done at some point, fighting to get rid of illegal, undocumented foreigners. South Africa is big. I'm saying look at your community. Narrow it down to your area of influence. Are there illegal, undocumented foreigners in your space? Try and get rid of them. What is the security like in your neighborhood? White people in their nice suburbs have got gated communities. There's nothing stopping you as a township or a neighborhood in a township from building a gated community. You go to a municipality, we tell them we'd like to gate this community. And within this community, we will set our own laws. We will have our own businesses here. We would like to have our own public or private school here. This is our area of influence, and South Africa is too big, but within our community, we have built utopia. We have built our own black Urania, where we thrive, and only documented people that we know are here. Only skilled people that we know are here. Only people that are of same mind, same vision are here. And we've got our own security forces surveying and surrounding our border fences within our community. In the same way that your politicians, some of them who are happy to remove the borders, live in gated estates with great security. They are there, they're safe, and their kids go. Sometimes in those estates, there are even schools and stores. And they're there in their safe spaces, in their mini countries. You can do that for yourself. Black tax, paying you all the black pen.